What if I told you that the right grooming tool could not only improve the health and coat condition of your cat, it could also improve your quality of life and mental health? I know that sounds a bit excessive, but let's take a look at how much cat hair can really impact your day-to-day life. I'm here at the home of a regular cat family to see how they're coping, and the first clue as I enter the door is not a good sign. We've got a clothes hair roller here, and we turn around and what do we see is a great big vacuum cleaner, almost overflowing with pet hair. Quickly up the stairs, and oh, what do we see? First thing is yet another hair roller for the clothes. They're dotted around the place like fire extinguishers. We've got a small handheld vacuum cleaner, and we've also got the big, powerful upstairs vacuum cleaner. That's right, that's 3 vacuum cleaners I've seen so far. Now, if I hang to the left, we're actually going into a dedicated cat room, but we're already seeing signs of problems. We've got an air purifier there that is struggling to keep up. We've got a lovely, comfortable looking sofa covered in cat beds, but let's take a closer look and we can see what the problem is. Ugh, yuck. Cat hair balls and cat hair vomit on the beds, and lurking underneath the beds themselves is, oh my gosh. Yuck, this sofa needs a waxing job stat. This is disgusting. I'm going to cover that straight back up. I'm going to turn around, have a look in these cabinets for some more clues, and we've got some expensive hairball food. And in the other cabinet, yep, exactly what I expected. A box of dusty old brushes. We've got hairball paste. We've got deshedding spray. And oh, would you brush your cat with this? I think the teeth are even rusty. This person is not coping. Who is living like this? Oh, right. It's me. Don't get me wrong. I love every one of my 5 cats. But there are some days where it would be nice to not have to use one of these before I leave the house, to not have to vacuum every single day, and to enjoy a cup of coffee minus the hair. A really common question that pet owners ask me in practice is, how do I stop my cat from shedding? Well, here's the bad news. You can't. Unless you're going to shave your cat every day or get yourself one of those hairless numbers, you need to face up to the fact that healthy cats shed. It's a normal part of the hair growth cycle. But there are some things you can do to reduce it and at least limit where it happens. Now, we're all familiar with the side effects of living with furry pets, and much of the time the solutions to this are focused on dealing with the hair where it's ended up. Clothes brushes, air purifiers, hairball paste, hairball food, super-powered vacuum cleaners, all of these ways to cope with the hair once it's off the cat and invaded your home. Now, hairballs is something that we seem to accept as being a normal part of having a cat, and to a certain extent that's true. Cats do obviously groom themselves, using those rough tongues to keep their coats in tip-top condition. Now, for a wild cat with a very short coat, this is a pretty efficient way of keeping their coats clean. But as cats have become domesticated, their coats and body shapes have changed and they're living longer. That means we've got longer coats, thicker coats, less flexible cats, fatter cats, and cats with arthritis that aren't able to groom as well as they used to. And that means that cats can end up with knotted, matted fur and that layer of dead undercoat that gets trapped underneath the top coat. And then the more cats groom, they start to accumulate that hair inside, and that's where we get hairballs. Hairballs might seem like a fairly innocent thing, but every time a cat vomits up a hairball, it tells us that hair has accumulated in their intestines over time, eventually reaching a point where it's causing irritation and obstruction. And that can lead to either vomiting, constipation, or can sometimes even need surgery if that mass becomes so big and dry that the cat cannot pass it in either direction. So hairballs aren't necessarily as innocent as we might think. So of course, hairball pastes, hairball foods, and don't get me wrong, I've got both of them in my house. But the reality is, if we want to really reduce the amount of hair that our cats are ingesting and spreading all over our homes, there's only 2 ways to do it. One is to target nutrition, making sure that they are on a high quality diet with lots of omega-3s to give them a really healthy skin and coat. And the other is grooming. Now, we all know that grooming is an important part of having a cat, but if you're anything like me, it's really easy to lose enthusiasm for a thankless job that you feel like you're performing over and not making a dent. And for me, with 5 indoor cats, it can feel like I'm just fighting a losing battle. I've got the brushes and the combs and all the different doodads, and I've even got one cat that doesn't mind being vacuum cleaned. But that doesn't stop me dealing with cat hair every single day. And that's because most of the time we're not using the right tool. Apart from some of your very fine haired cat breeds and those little naked guys, most cats really would benefit from a deshedding tool. And how that differs from a regular brush is that it's actually getting underneath the top coat and removing that layer of dead undercoat that tends to accumulate. That's what becomes knotted and matted in our long-haired cats, and that's what ends up all over our clothes, furniture, food, drink, everything. The problem with most deshedding tools is that you've either got something that's quite narrow, pointed and sharp, and cats just are not going to tolerate that, or you've got the brush that has the single horizontal blade that's really effective at getting that hair out. But the trouble with these popular deshedding brushes is that they have to go over the top of the top coat and are pulling and damaging that layer as well. That's why you end up with so much hair at the end of a grooming session. It's satisfying, but you can be doing more damage in the process. These deshedding tools from Refuresh do things a little bit differently. Instead of having that single horizontal blade, they've got individual teeth designed to glide through the top coat and pull out that dead undercoat layer without causing any damage to the hair that's still growing. So the brushes come in different sizes, small, medium, large, depending on the size of your pet, and they come in a long coat variety and one for short and medium. I found the medium brush was the perfect compromise that allowed me to comfortably groom all of my pets using the 2 different lengths. Now, when it comes to my cats, they're not all great lovers of being brushed, particularly my long-haired cat Zelda. The long-haired tool was really, really good at getting started, particularly with Zelda. I was honestly gobsmacked with how much she let me do, considering she absolutely hates being groomed. I'm currently recovering from having carpal tunnel surgery, so I was a little bit concerned about how well I was going to be able to use these brushes, but they're super lightweight, and the way the teeth are designed on here, they glide through the hair so easily. You kind of feel like you're not doing anything until you actually see how much hair is coming back with it. Now, a feature that I didn't even know I needed until I tried it is the changing angle. Just by pushing the buttons on the side, you can alter the angle into different positions, which I found really helpful depending on the angle or the part of the cat I was grooming. Now, when you're getting this much hair out, obviously you want to get rid of it pretty easily, and the little discard feature works so efficiently. What I recommend is having a little bucket or a damp cloth nearby to discard the fur onto to stop it blowing all over the house. Unless you've got a cat like Clutch and you can sit there with the vacuum cleaner beside you. Now, the important thing to realize is that these tools are so efficient, you only need to spend about 5 minutes brushing your cat to get the same kind of results that might have taken half an hour or even an hour with less efficient tools. These deshedding tools have been popular for years with professional groomers in Australia, and I can definitely see why. Because I'm not having to constantly go over and over the coat. I can groom every pet in my household in a single morning, something that was completely unheard of. In the past, I'd have to set aside 3 or 4 hours just to do a couple of dogs. So I'm now seeing a lot less fur everywhere, and I've seen a dramatic reduction in the number of hairballs ending up on my cat's bedding and my own pillow. Look, they're not the cheapest grooming tool on the market, and in fact, they may be one of the more expensive. And that's because they are a professional grade tool, and quite frankly, it's probably the last grooming tool you're ever going to need to buy. So if you love spending hours and hours wrestling with your cat trying to brush them, don't buy these. But I would highly recommend trying out the deshedding tools from Refuresh, because your cats have much better things to do than to spend hours being brushed. Check out the links below for more information and to read my full review at catster.com. And to find out how things went with my dogs, head on over to dogster.com.